Well, it's a very good morning, a good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you are listening to this Coaching Cafe all around the world. We have Canada, we have down the road here in Melbourne represented, and it's wonderful to have you all join us for this Coaching in Action Cafe today. My name is Natalie Ashdown from the Open Door Coaching Group, and I am joined on the line by our Learning and Development Manager, Bridget Calvert. Hello to you, Bridget.
Hello there, Natalie. Nice to be here.
So we're going to be listening for PCC competencies today, and we're very excited to present this recording for you so we can all learn from it. Before we begin, let me acknowledge the traditional owners, the custodians on the lands which we're all meeting today, and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, communities of Australia, and all around the world where you're joining us today, either live or on your favourite streaming service. We pay our respects to them, to elders past, present and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. Well, I am moving quite quickly through our introduction, everyone, because we have got a coaching recording that we'd like you to listen to. And at the end of that, we will be debriefing just the first half of the recording. So we'll stop at about halfway, have a think about what you're hearing already. And in particular, Bridget is joining us as an ICF PCC assessor to share with us what she is hearing at the PCC level. We thought this recording might be squeezing into MCC actually, but since it hasn't been assessed at MCC level, let's just stick with the high PCC that you're hearing. So we'll be able to listen to the first half of the coaching session and then we'll be able to debrief it together. Please feel free to interact with the chat if you'd like to do that. Tell us what you're actually hearing. We won't be interacting or commenting during the coaching session. That will happen afterwards. And what I'd like to share with you also is that this coaching recording has actually been edited and redacted. And the reason for that is just to maintain confidentiality and the privacy of the people that we're talking about. So if you do hear skips in the audio, it's not a glitch. There has been some edits. So if you just think about it from a whole of coaching point of view, and don't worry if you hear a few skips, if you like. So if you're new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. We're about creating a community, sharing learned experiences and having thought-provoking conversations. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been really focusing on the ICF core competencies again. And we've been packing live recordings, which we have been doing with coachees, members of our alumni who have volunteered. And I really do want to give a shout out to our alumni who give us permission to share these recordings so that we can all learn from them. If you are a regular, welcome back. As you know, we love to come together live every Friday here or on your favorite streaming service. And we enjoy your interaction and saying hi to you and doing the weather report from all around the world. So with that in mind, if you are thinking about collecting your ICF CCEEs, they're available at the end of the session. If you are listening to this live, I'll put it up at the end of the session. Okay, so we're going to listen to about 15 minutes. It's the start of the coaching recording, and I welcome you to sit back, have a think about the ICF core competencies, have those in front of you as you go. And on our website, we've also got the download of the actual transcript as well. So that's a nice way of listening to it as well. You can highlight what you're hearing. Okay, over to the recording.
Oh, so let's just focus on you. Okay. Yeah. So was there something on your mind then that you wanted to focus on today?
Yes. So I'm...
I can see you're excited. That's great.
and I kind of know what I need to get done, but I need some help just to walk through the steps to get there, and it'd be massively helpful to talk about through these. So the situation is that I'm tasked with putting together a whole new strategy so it's a big project, and I've got some key influencers who are the heads of the faculty, and one of those leaders who is very senior and highly respected is strongly resisting the idea that we need a strategy for us, working through the steps I need to take to really get to the point of having that conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for sharing. And it's a tricky one, isn't it, when you've got to do these conversations in any context, really. Yeah. So essentially, I'm wondering about the strategy. So how important is the strategy to you?
It's something I passionately believe in. I have been in education my whole life, and it's also important to me from a professional sense, because my role is as the Associate Dean for Education. So it's my key purpose here. So it's something that's personally very important to me. It's something which is actually the centerpiece of my role. So it's important to all layers.
Yeah, I can hear it. You're passionate about it. It's important from a professional point of view, but not just for yourself, but what it means to the university.
Yes.
And what would it mean to pull this off, this strategy?
It would be my biggest achievement ever.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
And it would make a huge difference to our students, which matters a great deal to me. We know from benchmarking and all sorts of student satisfaction surveys that have that sort of sense of achievement in education. So, yeah, it matters.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I can hear that. And when we were talking earlier, we talked about leadership and how we want to lead and show up as a leader. So I was just wondering, Josh, like, how do you want to lead this? How do you want to be as a leader in this space?
Yeah. So I love, my personality type and thinking preferences are all about the bigger picture and imagining the possibilities. And so I resolutely show up being optimistic and thinking about what if these obstacles weren't here? What if we did have the resourcing? What if? And that question, I've discovered, and that approach hits the target with quite a few people. It doesn't with everybody, but I've got a sense, I've only been doing this for a few months, and I've got a sense that I'm starting to build that sort of coalition of people who are excited by that sort of future focus, and that being clear about what the goal is. And it was so how I show up is very much optimistic. I make a point of that. Engage people, very open, and always looking to the future, not getting bogged down in all the things that aren't quite right at the moment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if you think about the person that you were talking about, that person seems like a bit of a roadblock. It doesn't seem like that person has got that vision that you have. Would I be right around that?
Yes, and there's some complexity there, because although you're doing it this way for a long time, it can't be improved. It doesn't get any better than this, I think, is perhaps the underlying. So I think there's that. Yeah, it's interesting framing. If you think about, well, does the vision resonate with this person? No, and possibly because it requires a bit of dealing with some biases and recognizing that what we're doing right now isn't the best it could be, and but not seeing that as a criticism or a fault. It's just life. Things move on.
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I can hear that you're reflecting on that person as well. So let me just check in with you, Josh. You said at the beginning of our conversation you wanted to have some sort of steps or way forward or some way of structuring the conversation with this person.
Yeah.
Is that still what you'd like to get out of this conversation?
Yes, it is. Although your questions are helping me see there's quite a bit more to this. So although the obvious sort of tangible or tip of the iceberg is having the conversation around these specific instances of really unhelpful language, that probably, I'm quite liking the idea of my head of an iceberg here, where there's a lot going on below the surface. And that an approach that only addressed the unhelpful comments would be leaving this large submerged mass untouched. And so the visible bit would just quickly return again, because we've not really got at what's going on underneath here.
Yeah, so I wonder, would it be helpful to explore what's going on underneath?
It would.
Yeah. I noticed a hesitation. Go on.
If I'm really honest, I'm slightly intimidated by this person.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and I know that a definite non-strength of mine is I don't like having difficult conversations, although I've got much better at recognizing that and dealing with it. So yes, my slight hesitation was knowing that actually getting to a point with this person where we could actually sit down and have a solutions-focused conversation about what's going on under the surface would be really important. For me, it would be, at the moment, that's feeling like quite an intimidating or quite a big challenge to actually make happen.
Yeah, I got a sense of that. Yeah. That's okay. I understand, and as you say, it's a person. What makes that person intimidating or formidable for you?
Positional power, his intellect, and I suppose knowing that he doesn't, what he's telling me is that he doesn't buy into this or value this. It would feel like a very high stakes conversation in that, and this is a silly view, but it's almost better to pretend that everything's okay rather than get into what would be a really critically important conversation, which would potentially either reinforce and validate his position or could unlock the whole thing.
I get the sense. I get a feeling like it's like, well, it could be this, but it could unlock. It's a high stakes. It's very important. As you say.
And he's the kind of character where it's about winning and losing. It's all adversarial, and I don't work like that. But I have learned that and I'm guessing now, but from my previous experiences, you get one shot at the conversation with people like that, and then there's a sense that they've either won or lost. And if they feel they've won, then that's it. You're never going to get a chance to revisit again. But also the sense of them losing is not helpful either. And that's not how I approach these things. But I suspect that will be how he views this. It's, I'm an opponent with a different idea from him, and it's about this. And he uses this word quite often, a gladiatorial struggle to decide who's going to be right and who's going to win.
Yeah, I can hear it's a completely different approach. Like it's a completely different approach to how you would approach it as well. it's just not you.
Yes, in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, you talk about the power, and he's smart and he's an academic and outgunned. And you mentioned earlier, like, who am I to suggest? Is there some sort of belief that you're holding about this situation, Josh?
Great question, and yes. So I've learned actually through doing the Cert 4 that like many of us, I have beliefs which and until I stopped to think about, well, why do I believe that? And I realised I make a lot of assumptions about what might happen, which then stop me doing things because I have beliefs. And you're right, a lot of what I've talked about are simply beliefs. They're assumptions I'm making. And those, I know, are limiting the way I'm thinking about this and the way I'm approaching it.
Yeah, yeah. So if you were just to release that belief, what would that mean?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So if I didn't have these beliefs, actually, the project that I'm leading isn't worthwhile, and that we don't need to do it. So if none of those beliefs exist, I would go into this conversation feeling really quite confident, with a sense that this is it's a vital project. It's important to the university as a whole. It's important to students, it's important to staff, like we talked about at the start, and that confidence would then guide me through this, because the end point, number one in research, number one in education, would be unquestionably good for everybody. And so it would help me past any obstacles, including a personal obstacle. And I'd have the confidence to, and I suppose actually what you've got me thinking about now is that this is largely a confidence thing. Because
so let's just focus on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. So welcome back. We will leave it there. So it's a good spot to pause. We're about halfway through the coaching conversation now, and there's a lot that's happened so far. So that's why I've invited Bridget to come on the line and to talk to us about what she's hearing. And we really encourage you to put some messages into the chat box as well. We want to unpack what we're hearing so far in terms of the 3 core competencies: establishes and maintains agreement, cultivates trust and safety, and listens actively. But as you will be aware, all of the core competencies, they don't just exist in isolation. There's a lot of interweaving. So you're going to hear evoking awareness and a lot of other things happening already in the conversation. But if we just unpack from a core competency point of view, and we start with the first core competency, which is number 3, establishes and maintains agreement. We've got some notes here, Bridge. Would you like to share with us what you're hearing just around establishing and maintaining the agreement to kick us off?
Yes, I was madly writing things down as I was listening to, and like your slide there too, Nat. Firstly, you acknowledged directly what the coachee said around the challenge, which in turn, talking about establishing and maintaining agreement. That's important too. You've really sort of looked at what the challenge is, but also to how important and what would it mean to you. So really getting into the purpose for which, or the purpose for which this is an important discussion as well. So you focus very much on who the coachee was and who they wanted to be, as opposed to just the what. But you certainly partnered with your coachee to identify what they wanted to get out of the session, and as well as what was most important or meaningful to the coachee as well, and spent a bit of time on what they need to address. So that challenge was really focused on as well, what they need to address in order to achieve what they want. So really, really valuable there. And like you've said here, linking the goal to the coachee's higher purpose. Why is it important? What would it mean to you? How do you want to lead? Strong re-contracting. Yes, there is more to this. So you were checking in. So you checked in on the coaching agreement. And through that question, of course, your coachee has highlighted that, yes, I did that. That is, but through your questioning, of course, more evolved from that as well. And so therefore you offered to explore and support him in exploring what was going on underneath the surface, which was a deeper contract, a deeper agreement than what initially had first presented.
Yes, and I think that's the importance if we're distinguishing between ACC and PCC. It would still be good coaching if the coach took the coachee's first agreement, the first goal, which was think about steps to actually work through this conversation. But the recontracting in the middle was to be able to get the coachee to go, well, is this still what you want to talk about, given that we've had this further conversation? The PCC element here, Bridge, which we're highlighting, is that the coach unpacks why is this important? What would it mean, linking through to the higher purpose, rather than just taking the initial goal and carrying on. That's the real distinction.
Absolutely. Yes.
So with all those experienced coaches on the line too, you'll notice that Bridget and I are listening to the recording as though we haven't heard it before, and I've taken a page and a half notes on the recording as well. So we're learning from the recording, and hopefully you're doing that as we go along. Let's go on to competency 4, cultivates a trust and safety here, Bridge. And I think this is where we're hearing a really strong PCC element around trying to understand the client's context, and we're eliciting values, beliefs, the assumptions, everything's coming out in just a very short period of time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This, the belief work and the focus on the limit, excuse me, the limiting beliefs, you really acknowledged and respected the insights and the work from your coachee. You sought to understand your coachee within their context. Who do they want to be? What does this mean for them and about them? And your coachee was very trusting and open and willing to explore those deeper meanings as well. It certainly wasn't surface at all. You were supportive. You showed empathy. You were supporting their expression of how they felt about what it was for them, what it meant for them, those deeper limiting beliefs and what that actually meant for the coachee. And you supported that. You were there, you were supportive and partnered with him all the way through there. You acknowledged who the coachee is, as mentioned, how he wants to be, empathy, as I've mentioned, around that difficult conversation. And you really demonstrated that trust and safety so that your coachee could explore more deeply. The question, what makes this person intimidating? That was a really good chunk down, sort of beneath the surface to find out more. And, the belief work was really valuable, really valuable. So, I think also too, you put forward, you offered your understanding of what you heard and you checked the accuracy of that as well, rather than just assuming that was what it meant, but you checked for that too. So all of that cultivates that trust and safety for your coachee who's leading the way.
Yes, thank you. And the coaches on the line might have noticed there might have been a pivot point there when the coachee was unpacking all the assumptions. And so it's the coach using their intuition here in the safe space that we have created to go after the beliefs as opposed to continue to unpack the assumptions. And of course, you might hear that if we go after beliefs, that is actually a deeper level, and you can't do that unless you have trust and safety here. The other thing I'll point out, Bridge, which I noticed, which again is the difference between ACC and a higher PCC, is that an ACC might try to understand the environment, like tell me more about that person, etc., etc. But here, the coach is seeking to understand what is under the surface from who the coachee wants to be here. So the environment, the experiences, the values and belief, the context that's been elicited is to understand the real who of the person and not just what's happening. Is that the kind of thing you would be hearing and resonating with you as well, Bridge?
Most definitely. So if the focus is taken away from the other person as being it's about them, and bringing it back to the coachee around, well, what do you make it mean for you, and what do you make it mean about you, that this, this is happening. It's in the environment, but essentially the focus is still on the coachee and what it means for them.
Yes, indeed. So the other competency that I wanted to explore, and it will be interwoven with, so we want to explore core competency number 6, listens actively. This is very heavily interwoven with competency 7, which is evokes awareness. And I'd like to pick up evokes awareness and the critical questions that have been asked in our next session together, when we listen to the second half of the session. So if we're just focusing on listens actively, there's a number of things that actually come out here that I think we can highlight, Bridge.
Yeah, sure. So, you considered the coachee's context, so to enhance understanding of what they were communicating, using their words to determine full meaning of what's communicated. That's so important. Also recognizing and inquires when there is more to what your coachee was communicating, and the use of intuition there too. So I think the active listening was really prominent in this particular first half. You responded directly to what the coachee was saying. There was nothing generic about any of the questions. It was really tailored and specific to what you were hearing, and your questions were directly related to what your coachee was saying. So energy shifts, those sorts of things. You sensed a hesitation. You mentioned what you saw as well, in terms of looking, and you look and feel calmer. Yeah, so I think that essentially there was discussion around emotion there. So you supported to explore emotion, and also learning more about who the client is, as well as their situation, but who they are as well as the situation that's going around them. So everything that was discussed, you actively listened and responded directly in turn.
And I think thank you for sharing that, Bridge. And I think the other thing is that this is acknowledging a very high stakes conversation. So I remember feeling the tension of that high stakes conversation, the conflict. The coachee is not happy to go and explore that conflict. It's not what he wants to do. What is important here is the coach is not trying to force the coachee down a path, like you have to go and have that conversation. So it is just allowing that space for the coachee to make their own decisions, let the conversation be coachee led. But you can hear we are listening and operating at a deeper level. So the coach, as a coachee, I felt that big shift, and I was coaching live, obviously live, but I could see the coachee, and I could see the big change in the coachee when he just looked different. And so pointing that out is a really good thing. It's what the coachee is saying, but also what they're not saying, that's important here as well.
And I really loved, there was a part there where there was significant space and silence for your coachee to think and reflect, which is really important.
Yeah. Great. Well, we got to the point where we said, what if this belief doesn't exist? And then we had the big reframe. And the other important thing here from a PCC level is is allowing the coachee to, that's where the interweaving with the evokes awareness happens. It's allowing them to gain the awareness rather than pointing out the awareness. So they're gaining the awareness, and then the coachee makes the reframe themselves, which I think is very nice.
Yeah, agreed.
Great. Well, there you are. Hopefully you enjoy listening to it. Feel free to listen back again to the coaching conversation. There's so much that we can learn just from this very short coaching conversation. We want to encourage you. The coachee has done our certificate for in workplace and business coaching, has gone on to do the diploma. So feel free to inquire about those things as well. As always, we say thank you for joining us. We look forward to unpacking the second half of the coaching conversation next week with you. And as we always say, most importantly, enjoy your coaching and enjoy making the difference you make to your individuals, your teams, and your organizations. Thank you very much, Bridge, for joining us today as well.
Thank you. A pleasure.